I can still feel the pit in my stomach when I think about it. $50,000 gone. Not stolen, not gambled away, not lost in some wild business scheme. It slipped through my fingers because of one mistake I didn't even realize I was making until it was too late. That's the thing about financial mistakes. They don't always happen in one dramatic moment. Sometimes they creep up quietly. You go about your life, thinking you're doing okay, maybe even feeling a little proud of yourself, until one day you look at your bank account, your investments, or your debts, and the truth hits you like a truck. The worst part? This wasn't some complicated, high-level financial blunder. No, this was a simple, avoidable, painfully obvious mistake that most people make without knowing it. And if you're not careful, it could cost you just as much or more than it cost me. So before you think, that'll never happen to me, I want you to hear my story. Because if I had heard someone else tell it years ago, I could have saved myself not just money, but years of stress and regret. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, step by step. I'll show you how the warning signs were right there in front of me, how I ignored them, and how you can spot them in your own life before it's too late. And trust me, by the end, you're going to have the exact tools to avoid this pitfall forever. But here's the deal. This will only help you if you watch through to the very end, because the mistake didn't happen overnight, and neither did the lessons I learned. So, if you've ever made a bad financial decision, or worried about making one, stick with me. Because this one could save you tens of thousands of dollars. Literally. Looking back now, I could see exactly where it all began. At the time, though, it felt like I was doing everything right. I had a stable job, a steady income, and a little extra money at the end of each month. In my mind, that meant I was financially responsible. Like most people, I thought the hardest part of managing money was earning it. If you could just make enough, everything else would take care of itself. I didn't have a detailed budget, but I had what I thought was common sense. I paid my bills on time, avoided flashy purchases, and saved when I could. That was enough, or so I believed. The truth is, I wasn't paying attention to the details. And money, as I would learn the hard way, lives and dies in the details. My first mistake was assuming that doing okay was the same as doing well. I had no real financial plan, no clear goals, no emergency fund beyond a few $100s, and no investment strategy. I was on autopilot, and when you're on autopilot with money, you're not in control, life is. It started subtly. I remember getting a small raise at work, and instead of using it to strengthen my savings, I let my expenses quietly expand. A nicer apartment, better furniture, more dinners out. I wasn't being reckless, at least not in an obvious way, but I was building a lifestyle that quietly chipped away at my financial flexibility. Around that time, I also got into the habit of future spending. I'd commit to expenses based on what I expected to earn, not what I actually had. Concert tickets for months down the road, a trip I hadn't fully saved for, a subscription service here, a gadget there. None of these were huge purchases, but together they started forming a pattern I couldn't see yet. The second big mistake was thinking I could figure it out later. I had heard about compound interest, about the importance of investing early, about emergency funds, but those all felt like problems for future me to solve. Present me was just focused on living comfortably. That mindset worked fine until the first curveball hit. I didn't know it yet, but I was about to face a decision that would push me into the exact trap that cost me $50,000. It started with what seemed like an opportunity. That's the dangerous thing about financial mistakes. They rarely look like mistakes at first. A close friend reached out one evening, his voice buzzing with excitement. "This is the chance we've been waiting for," he said. He had been talking to someone who was in the know about a fast-growing business venture. The pitch was smooth, low risk, high returns, and the chance to get in before it went big. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd pay my bills and daydream about one day having real wealth. My friend's words were painting a picture I wanted to believe in. Easy money, a shortcut to financial freedom. Here's the problem. I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't fully understand the business. I didn't verify the numbers. I didn't even consult anyone with experience. I told myself, if I wait too long, I'll miss out. That fear of missing out, FOMO, was the spark that lit the fire. The buy-in was $25,000. It was a big chunk of my savings, but I convinced myself I'd make it back in months. Money is meant to work for you, I said, repeating a line I had heard from some online guru. And then I doubled down. A week later, the same friend told me there was a premium tier for investors who put in more. Supposedly, it unlocked bigger returns. Without even pausing to really think, I committed another $25,000. $50,000. Gone from my account in 2 transactions. For the first couple of weeks, things seemed fine. I was getting regular updates, screenshots showing supposed profits, messages assuring me everything was going as planned. My confidence grew. I even started making mental plans for what I'd do with the returns, pay off debts, invest, maybe even buy a small property. Then the updates slowed down. Calls went unanswered. The person running the investment became harder to reach. My friend, once so confident, now sounded hesitant, even nervous. It all unraveled one Tuesday morning. I woke up to a flood of messages from other investors in a group chat we shared. The website was down. The company's social media pages had vanished. And the phone numbers? Disconnected. The realization hit like a physical punch. The money was gone. All of it. That $50,000 I had worked years to save wasn't just missing, it was never coming back. What hurt the most wasn't just the loss. It was the fact that I had ignored every warning sign, every small voice in my head telling me to slow down, ask more questions, and protect myself. The morning after I realized the money was gone, I sat at my desk staring at my bank account. The numbers looked smaller, colder, almost mocking me. I tried to replay every decision that had led me here. Every phone call, every late-night conversation, every gut feeling I had chosen to ignore. My stomach felt hollow, like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. And then came the questions, the ones you don't want to answer. How was I going to cover the bills I'd been counting on that money to pay? How was I going to explain to my partner that nearly half of our savings had vanished in a matter of weeks? What was I going to tell my parents, who had always seen me as the responsible one with money? I didn't have answers. For days, I barely slept. My mind was a reel of what-ifs and if-onlys. If only I'd done more research. If only I had said no to doubling down. If only I had trusted my instincts. It was a mental loop I couldn't escape. The financial impact hit first. We had to put big plans on hold. Plans we'd been working toward for years. The down payment for a new home? Gone. The small business idea I'd been saving for? Dead before it could start. Even little things like eating out or replacing the old fridge suddenly felt like luxuries we couldn't afford. Then came the strain on relationships. My partner didn't yell or get angry. Worse, there was just this heavy silence between us. It's the kind of silence where you can feel the trust slipping piece by piece. My friend, the one who had brought me into the deal, avoided me. We went from talking daily to exchanging awkward one-line texts, and then to nothing at all. The emotional toll was brutal. I felt stupid, ashamed, and shame has a way of isolating you. I didn't want to be around friends because I didn't want them to ask how things were going. I avoided family gatherings because I didn't want anyone to notice I was different, quieter, more withdrawn. It's hard to explain, but losing that money wasn't just losing money. It felt like losing a version of myself, the one who was confident, optimistic, certain about the future. I started questioning everything. Was I really good with money, or had I just been lucky before? Could I even trust myself to make financial decisions again? And worst of all, if this happened once, could it happen again? It took me months to admit the truth. I wasn't just dealing with a financial setback. I was dealing with a trust crisis, trust in others, and trust in myself. It took me a long time to crawl out of the hole I had dug myself into. At first, I thought the lesson was simple: don't trust people so easily. But the more I replayed everything in my head, the more I realized that wasn't the real takeaway. The real lesson was deeper. It was about how I thought about money in the first place. The first thing I learned was this: never invest in something you don't fully understand, no matter how many people swear it's a sure thing. I had fallen into the trap of trusting someone else's confidence instead of building my own knowledge. Now, I don't put a single dollar into anything unless I can explain it to a 12-year-old in simple terms. If I can't break it down clearly, I'm not ready to put my money there. The second thing? Always separate opportunity from urgency. The worst decisions I've made with money happen when I felt rushed. They act now or miss out forever. Mindset is a salesman's best friend and an investor's worst enemy. Now, I give myself at least 72 hours before making any big financial decision. It's my cool-off period, and it has saved me from more disasters than I can count. The third? Emotions and money are a dangerous mix. I didn't realize how much greed, fear, and pride had influenced my choice. I wanted to prove I was smart. I didn't want to look like I was missing out. And when things started to go wrong, I didn't want to admit I'd made a mistake, so I doubled down. Now, if I feel emotional about a deal, I step back. I either sleep on it, talk it through with a trusted neutral person, or walk away entirely. The fourth thing I learned was about risk. $50,000 felt like a lot of money to lose, and it was. But the truth is, I should have never put that much into one opportunity in the first place. I didn't diversify. I had one egg in one basket, and when the basket broke, well, you know the rest. Now, I follow a simple rule. Never put more than 10% of my available investment money into a single deal, no matter how promising it looks. And the fifth, maybe the hardest lesson, protect your relationships. Money can ruin friendships faster than anything else. If you're going to mix business and personal relationships, set clear agreements in writing. Make sure both parties understand the risks, and never put the relationship on the line for a deal. Looking back, losing the friendship hurt just as much as losing the money. I wish I could say I bounced back overnight. I didn't. It took months to rebuild my finances and even longer to rebuild my confidence. But here's the surprising thing. Losing $50,000 made me far more careful, far more disciplined, and far more aware of the traps that can wipe out a decade of hard work in a single decision. And today, I handle money differently. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Because money can grow if you treat it right, but it can disappear faster than you think if you don't. When I look back at that chapter of my life, I don't just see the $50,000 I lost. I see the arrogance I didn't know I had, the blind trust one handed over without question, and the quiet, dangerous belief that it won't happen to me. But the truth is, it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a seasoned investor. Bad decisions don't discriminate. And often, it's not the market, the economy, or bad luck that ruins people financially. It's the little moments, the split-second choices, when emotions override logic. The $50,000 loss became my tuition fee for the kind of education no classroom can teach. It taught me that wealth isn't built just by chasing the right opportunities. It's protected by avoiding the wrong ones. It taught me that patience in money is often more profitable than speed. And it taught me that sometimes the most valuable thing you gain from a loss is wisdom. Today, I approach money like a gardener approaches a delicate plant. I don't overwater it with risky bets. I don't leave it exposed to storms without protection. And I don't rip it out just because it's not growing fast enough. I plant, I wait, I nurture, and I protect. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Don't let a bad investment be the reason you learn these lessons. Learn them now, while the cost is still zero. Because trust me, paying $50,000 for the same knowledge hurts. If this story made you stop and think, hit that like button so more people can hear it. And if you want more real money lessons told through real stories, subscribe and turn on the bell, because the next story might just save you from your own $50,000 mistake.